Welcome to Hot Flash Chronicles, where midlife is messy, menopause is madness, and we're sweating through it together.
We're Angie and Shelly, two caffeine-fueled, slightly inappropriate grandmas who say what everyone's thinking.
So grab a drink, crank up the AC, and let's dive in. Hey, Angie, soul sister, gotta get that dough, sister.
I do get that dough.
Guess what's gonna happen?
We're going to do a podcast episode?
We're gonna do a podcast episode.
I knew it! How did I know? Ooh, I'm so good
You're
at this.
psycho or you're psychic. That's the one.
Yeah.
We're gonna do, I think this is gonna be really fun.
Obviously.
This episode is gonna be on Soulmates.
Aww.
I know.
I love that.
I do too. I think that Soulmates is like this very famous, well-historied thing that people talk about.
Well-historied. You're so articulate. That's what I
Am
love
I?
most about you.
Articulatedness.
Yes.
It's just got this kind of romance to it where you think, oh, a soulmate.
My soul craves you.
It's this magical, mystical thing that happens when you see it in the movies.
Yes. Well, the rom-com, it's always like fading off into the everybody's happy and it's all like, yay.
Yeah. You met your soulmate. Everything works out. It's all perfect. And is it?
It's not always. And that's okay. It's okay to be bumpy and boring sometimes.
Yeah.
It can be a bumpy ride. You can go through the hills and valleys. It's all good.
And you know what?
No shame in any of it.
I would even put out there that a soulmate does not have to be a romantic partner.
Accurate.
I think there are other soulmates. And that's kind of what we're going to dive into here today.
I feel like my soul can be like my character, my heart, my whatever, can be very drawn to certain people, right? And there are people, like when I met Shelly 14 or 15 years ago, I knew that we were meant to be friends. I knew that she was meant to be in my life. That reason, season, lifetime, she's a lifer. This one's a lifer. So I knew pretty quickly that we were meant to be in each other's lives in a good way. And I think that you can have that through friendships. You can have that through work. You can have that through, like as a photographer, I have it with clients. Like I have some clients that really sing to my soul. We've had it in actual singing.
Yeah. In
romantic
hobbies.
pets. Pets can be your little furry soulmates.
Yeah. I think it's something or someone that you just feel this kind of connection to. And I think another thing that kind of defines soulmate for me is a lot of times it just feels really easy. Like it doesn't
like
feel
an effortless relationship.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like tons of work to keep it on track. It's like you can have these times maybe where you aren't in super, super close, continuous contact, but every time you are, it just feels like you pick right up where you left off.
I feel like we definitely have that. Like we can go a few months without seeing each other or talking to each other, and we just immediately fall right back in line to where we were before the break. Yeah. Not that we've taken a break from each other, but
sometimes
it's like
life comes along.
Life forces a break.
Creates breaks, your career, your family situation. There can just be things going on that
travel. Like you've gone to England for long bouts of times.
Sometimes
I've gone to Europe
gone for a few weeks at a time. So there's these things in life that can sometimes kind of take you away from these people, but you always come back, and it's always just a natural pickup to wherever you were.
So what do you think it's like somebody's characteristics that like draw you to them as far as like, this is somebody that I want to consistently have in my life?
You know, there's some studies on, we'll act like we're kind of researchy people who Google stuff.
We're so smart.
But
just ask us.
Just ask us. There's been some research that's been done about why are people attracted to each other. And it's very interesting because there is a thing that says you will be attracted to someone who is within your social kind of, usually they're in your social life, they're in the same kind of level,
right,
and usually you have a certain amount of things in common, and so you see somebody who is like you and you recognize traits that are similar to yours, and therefore there's an attraction. And there's even like a facial computation they've done of people who have similar like structures, bone structures, face types.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That you because you recognize it and it feels safe and familiar. So if you think about that And it's like sometimes the reason you feel these connections are you have things in common. I mean, it just kind of makes sense. Oh, we have these things in common. We like to talk about this kind of stuff. We like to do this kind of stuff. So I feel like sometimes these soulmates are people who maybe you have this common thread somehow.
Right.
That brings you together.
I'm somebody that is obsessed with learning. And I feel like there are definitely educators and teachers and speakers where it's like you can hear something 6 different ways and it doesn't quite land. But then there's that one person that comes across your brain that's like, oh, they speak the way that my ears like to listen.
Their mouth hole makes sounds
that
come
I like
out of their face hole that go into my ear holes.
Yeah, like I get enchanted by people to where I'm just like, I'm in your web. I'm speaking to you, Sue Bryce. Like sometimes you just listen to somebody and you're like, I could literally listen to you all
I'm
day.
wondering how many times you have to say somebody's name before it's stalking.
It doesn't. If they're a friend, it's not stalking.
Okay.
Jason Momoa probably is like, who is this Angie lady? She talks about me a lot.
It's a little
Sue's
bit
okay with it.
Sue's great. So thank you, Sue, for being forgiving of the stalking. The friend stalking. But it's like, yeah, I think there's some people who speak your language. Like you said, maybe 5 other people said it, but when this person did it, you went, huh.
Right. It just like your ears like to hear the way that they speak.
Yeah.
Right.
And they say it in the way that you understand it or that you feel it. Like some of us want to feel something when people are giving us important information. Some of us want it to be very technical and very researchy. Mm-hmm. And that's another word that is real, researchy.
It is. Yeah. I think that is actually a word.
Maybe. But it is now. See how connecting. But that's like something in our human nature. It's like, I understand you, you understand me. Now we have this bond. So that to me, is it soulmates? Like that feels almost mystical and kind of like magical, but maybe there is a way for us to attract in our soulmates.
Yeah. And I view soulmates as people that you're just like metaphysically tethered to mm-hmm. in a good way. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. I think
like there's somebody that are important to you that, mm-hmm. yeah, like romantically, they say that like you only have one mm-hmm. soulmate. Yeah. Well, we had a couple trial runs before we found our actual people. We
had a few trial runs.
Yes. And
a few is more than 3. It could be many. It could be many. Many is more than... There was some.
We had some trial runs.
Yeah.
But here's how I know that Jeff is my romantic soulmate for the rest of my life, forever and ever, amen, is I feel that I can just authentically be myself. I don't ever have to mask anything or hide anything or put anything on. I can just be me, and he loves all of that. And there's a comfortability mm-hmm. that comes with that mm-hmm. to where it's just, you can exist. I remember my mom saying when I was younger, like I was a teenager, if you can find yourself somebody that you can sit in a room and just read next to each other, mm-hmm. that's true love. And I was like, that doesn't sound very spicy. But she was right, because like I can just sit, like we'll like lay in bed reading our own things and I'll laugh and he'll just like put a hand on my shoulder and I'll like touch his leg with my foot because I'm cold. And, that's a comfortability in having like a soulmate to where you're just authentically you and they celebrate all of it.
I think especially with a romantic soulmate, I feel like romance is a very interesting and very necessary part of the beginning of a love relationship. Like,
well, that's why we procreate.
Right. A boyfriend.
Like if we didn't have that draw, we wouldn't exist anymore.
Yeah. So there's this biological thing that makes us attracted to other people. But then when you're really going to stay together for the long run, it's like that romance part. It's like that good little like teaser. It brings you in, it hooks you, it gets you kind of that spicy, fun part of relationship. But then it's like it has to become these building blocks
right.
to what I feel is more your lifetime soulmate, which has that romantic aspect to it, but also has the things that your mom was talking
Right.
about, and that we're now experiencing in our relationships, because you've been with Jeff for
12 years.
12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been with Phil for 10 years. And they're different. Those relationships are different as they evolve. And there's still romance. There's still moments of all those things, but there's so much more now.
For sure. And so I think it was like a week and a half ago. I was in the kitchen and Jeff had just gotten his hair cut, and he like shaved his beard and he looked all like, and he's talking about something totally mundane. And I was like, God damn, you are good looking. I was like, I literally couldn't focus on what he was saying because I was like, I'm going to come make out with you immediately. I was completely smitten and could hardly talk. And I was like, how cool is that?
Yes.
That my partner of 12 years, my husband, my lobster, all of those things, I can look at him and just have this refresh, like, oh, you are so hot.
And that's
like,
so,
and he's
that's
looking
so
at me and he's like, what? And I was like, I just finish your thought. But like, you need to remember this haircut because there was something like, God damn, dude. Yeah, it was
a styling.
It was a moment. And but the fact that you can still have those butterflies 12 years in where you're like, oh, that's my partner. How lucky am I?
Yeah.
How lucky am I?
I think that's that refresh, that you need every once in a while, because you definitely develop friendship and camaraderie and all these things, partnerships. There's all these things that a romantic relationship is. So it's nice you still get that.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it's a lot more of that. And
right.
then
You can't keep your hands off each other. And then that starts to like, did you get the groceries?
Yeah,
and I need an oil change.
Life is going to intervene. And if you've just gotten with someone because they're super hot and that was it, that was the glue and that was all there was, that ain't going to last.
That's for a season. The reason, season, or lifetime.
That's definitely a season, and those burn out. But every once in a while, you get all those other components that make up this fully developed relationship. And that is your lifetime soulmate kind of situation. And again, that can be with a partner, a romantic partner. It can be your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife,
your dog.
But you can absolutely feel those kinds of connections with a pet.
Yeah.
I've definitely had a couple animals where they just healed my soul. Like they came into my life at a time when maybe I rescued them, but they rescued me. I have one of those still, even though he's a little a-hole that doesn't like anyone but me. Chi-Chi, I'm talking to you.
Chi-Chi loves Phil too.
Chi-Chi does
he makes
love
anybody
Phil
else,
now.
he tears into them and makes them bleed and get
he
stitches.
Wants to hurt other people, but
accurate.
But he was a little rescue dog, and he has a very special place in my heart. And there's just some animals that bring you that kind of sense of they belong to you, you belong to them, and they just bring you this kind of unconditional love that sometimes other humans just can't give you.
100%.
And I feel like even with a human partner who can be pretty unconditional, there's still some conditions usually, but an animal, that's an unconditional situation. I highly recommend it. I think
Ahsoka is mine. She's she's a little scared. My sister found her on the train track. She's afraid of everything. She's just a terrified little bean. And she's the tiniest little peanut, but she can tell if I'm upset. She is actually my emotional support dog.
Yeah.
If I'm upset, or even if I'm watching something and I have like a pang of anxiety, she can tell from the other side of the house. She'll just slowly walk up to me with her tiny little, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm just here to give you love and affection. And I recognize that you're having a rough minute.
Yep.
And she'll just snuggle into me because she knows how to read me.
It.
Yeah, she can tell.
They know.
The other dogs can't really tell so much, but Ahsoka
Some
is
dogs are a-holes.
we are in tune with each other to where she's like, oh, mama's not happy.
Mine that does that is Bunny. He is the middle dog. He was the second one we got. And then I have Road Dog. That one's the last one we got, who I literally picked up from the side of the road.
Did you guys just find two dogs this weekend?
Yeah.
But they found their owner. You don't now own five dogs, right?
I don't now own. I wanted to, but nope. This one had owners. But Bunny is he's the one that senses, is much more in tune. He's definitely imprinted, and he knows when things are off. He knows when to just come and snuggle in and let me pet him. Petting is very therapeutic. it does something for us biologically as humans. It releases the endorphins
Totally.
we need to do to chill out. And so pets can be very, very good for that. And there are some humans that also can have that kind of calming effect. And I think that they're empaths. You know, if you've heard about people who are empathic, sometimes you just have those friends or those people in your life who can very much tune into, like, you're like, hey, what's going on? They're like, what's wrong? What's happening? They know, even though you're saying all the right things, they know you're not quite okay.
I just learned about 4 years ago that I'm an empath. And I have not quite yet figured out how to turn off
The feelings.
that and like put a protective bubble around myself so as not to absorb if there's negative stuff going on. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I've just recently learned about myself that I am an empath, and it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense actually. Yeah. I was like, wait, not everybody can like just feel all of the feelings that are happening in a room internally. Oh, interesting. I thought that was just a thing.
Yeah, I think there definitely are people who just are so much more that's the right word. They're just in tune. They're in tune with the vibe and the energy of other people, and they can instantly pick up, like when they walk into a room, they can tell right away, ooh, something just happened. Yeah, something's going on. And I can do that sometimes, but I would never say that I'm an empath like that. I am very, very much aware of and tuned in to people that I know really well. Those people I can do that with, but complete strangers, it's a little bit harder to read for me.
Are you able to fill a room with an intended energy?
Well, I've been told I have big energy.
No, that's not.
Is that different?
No, I mean, like if you walk in and you feel like, can you feel if a room has just some scared vibes or weird vibes or sad vibes, or are you able to overrule it and fill it with a different energy that will then disperse to other people?
Well, yeah, I mean, when I feel those things, because of course those are things that make most of us feel uncomfortable when we're sensing that, I do know that I immediately go into what I would call Chandler Bing mode from Friends, where he tries to change the mood. It's like, hey, let's go. You know, I sense that there needs to be a shift in the matrix. And so I'll try to do things which I think maybe will lighten a mood if it's feeling like a dark mood.
Can you set the intention of a room? Like give it a word?
Yes, I think I can. I think I do that. And that's maybe part of my job, because I work a lot with people who are going through things in their lives, and I have to work a lot with attorneys. So a lot of times I have to present myself in a way that they're going to trust me, because my job depends on them being able to trust that I'm there to help them. So I do think I am able to do that and diffuse it and change that.
I've actually had people that are also very in tune with, because I'm able to do that. I'm able to set the intention of a room or a space or like I have like a bubble around me that I can just like envision it growing like a ripple. And I've had people that are also very in tune that as soon as that ripple hits them, they'll recognize it and turn and look at me and like, what's going on? Did you just bring abundance in? I did. Like they literally can hear the word.
Would you bring me coffee? Would you bring me coffee in abundance?
Okay, I have the weirdest manifesting story. This is weird. Are you ready for it? It's like spooky. So,
oh my God, I hope it's about coffee. Go ahead.
It's about caffeine.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was a teenager, like late teenager, I was walking down on Ruston Way, which is like a waterfront in Tacoma, with my friend. And we were talking about, because I'm a Christian and she was like, I'm not really sure. And we were talking about how you could like pray for things and it's really just manifestation and blah, blah, blah. And we're in this whole philosophical thing. And I was like, well, it's not like I can just say, Jesus, I'm thirsty. Send me a Coca-Cola. And she's like, right. And we walk not 5 steps. I swear to God, I swear to the person I'm talking about, this lady steps out with a Coca-Cola with a little tag around it that said, Jesus loves you. And I was like, and she was like, you guys thirsty? And I was like, what in the sorcery just happened? They were there from a church because it was a hot day, and they were just out like spreading the word of their church.
Have a Coke and a smile.
And salvation. And so but I was like, did I just pray that Coke into existence? Because I was like, it's not like I can be like, oh, I'm thirsty, Jesus, deliver me a Coca-Cola.
Could we flip the script here? And why don't you start thinking about $1 million.
I do.
Appearing right here.
I do. So you could.
Not
she's
yet.
waiting for it to appear. No, it doesn't
yet.
work like that. That's not how manifestation works. But it's like that was like instant result.
Yeah.
Same friend. Like 2 months later, I was having a nightmare, like live at my house. She's asleep at her house, where we were riding down the beach on horseback, and she fell off her horse. And I'm like yelling, like, and she calls me in real life, and she was like, "Were you just screaming?" I was like, "That's some weird shit. That's some weird shit. That is a soulmate. That is a soulmate. Yes. Our souls were. I haven't seen her in a long time.
Yeah.
But those kind of things, like, you can manifest, you can pray, you can, whatever that, visualize, whatever you want to call it. But you can bring people into your life. You can bring coffee into your life. I choose to believe. I'm going to have an awesome coffee this afternoon. Imagine if I have these tattooed. This is from my mentor. I choose to believe somebody's going to give me coffee today. Imagine if somebody brought me coffee. I am becoming someone who is being gifted coffee today.
Okay, that is the secret to life. That's the secret sauce right there.
Literally tattooed it on my arm.
Yeah.
I choose to believe.
That's probably because you can't
if
remember
I'm becoming
those 3 phrases.
Accurate. No, because I used them every day, and I was like, why not get them tattooed?
That's perfect.
That's my touchstone.
But I just like the idea, when you're thinking about things like soulmates, or when you're talking about that, this other stuff that's kind of mystical, kind of magical.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's like, why not? Why can't it be those things? And if it is something else, that's fine too. But the bottom line is making these connections with people who you feel like this is a person who's important to me. This is a person I want in my life. I enjoy spending time with this person. And if that's a soulmate, great. If it's just a really close friend, awesome. If it's your husband, that's perfect. If it's your wife, good. Like, anybody who brings that positive vibe or energy into your life is worthwhile, whether they're a soulmate or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe in it, if you don't believe in soulmates, that's okay too.
I wish I remembered when we met.
We can't remember very much of anything just because of the menopause brain. But I know it was at Chorus, wasn't it? At Chorus?
Of course it was at Chorus, but like I don't remember like the time that I was like, oh, she's cool.
I know we started writing somewhere in a car. I know we were in a car in a backseat, like to Katie Holling. What?
Katie Holly.
Yeah, to her house. I remember because you were talking about you were going through a breakup at the time.
And
that
divorce.
was a divorce.
Otherwise known as a divorce.
Yeah. And that was one of our first deep conversations. I remember being in that car, and that was one of the first times.
Is that when we grilled steaks and I added way too much salt and she was like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just one of the first conversations where I felt, because I've been divorced before and I've been in that situation.
I was in a struggle bus.
Yeah.
A little bit of a struggle bus.
Sometimes when you're in or on the struggle bus, people show up and you don't even know why they're there or what they're doing there, but you need them there. And it can be somebody who's just an acquaintance, and you never know, because that's really kind of how things happened.
How did you wind up going to Katie's?
I feel like it was something, I can't remember.
Was it like a Livewire fundraiser? Like
yes.
Or okay, so
was it Livewire or was it Lip Sync, the one that Anna was in with them? That was a group.
A little behind the curtain. We both sing a cappella. That's how we met. So that was probably a little bit of anybody who doesn't know.
Livewire probably was Livewire.
So there were some different a cappella groups that would do fundraisers to be able to go on different trips. So I think it was. Yeah. But it's cool to, like, I have a like my best guy friend, mm-hmm. right? Peter. I knew who he was for a long time, mm-hmm. because he's like famous in photo, and like I'd watched his YouTube videos. I was like, this guy's hilarious. Like, he's kind of a caricature of a human. Mm-hmm. And then when I met him, I was like, oh, we're supposed to be friends. And the coolest thing is I have a selfie from the first minute I met him. I was like, can we do a selfie?
See what we can do in modern times.
I know. So it was like, I have this, this timestamp of literally the minute we met. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And now he's one of my people. Like, he will always be one of my people. I love him to bits.
Yeah.
And I trust him. And he is like a friendship soulmate that we get each other, mm-hmm. on a level that a lot of friends don't. And Like, I'm not for everyone. He's not for everyone, but we get each other. And that's all that matters.
I feel like that's the thing
Yeah.
you need to do is you need to find your people, find your tribe, find that support system, and be prepared for it to be surprising. Look for it in unexpected places, because if you're just open to it, it really can happen at the workplace. It can happen at the coffee stand. I've made friends with people who served me coffee.
Yeah.
And they're
I mean,
friends.
you do love coffee.
I do love me some coffee, but it's just that I'd have these little conversations with them every day, and then all of a sudden you kind of find out things about each other and you become friends. So it's like, look for it in unexpected, or just be open to it happening in different places in your life. And whether you believe it's a soulmate or just a friend connection, or
a soulmate doesn't have to
connection,
be romantic, like you said.
Yeah, like open your mind up to just really connecting deeply with people who could be important for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I've had people who came through clutch in just a brief moment of my life. And they didn't have to be there for even, it can be in an emergency situation. I've helped people like on the side of the road, they were just in a car accident. It was very important for me to be there.
You're very much you're a supportive person in those kind of moments.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's like sometimes it can be something that happens to you at work, and maybe you work with that person for 6 months and they move on and go somewhere else, but they were there for you in spades. I introduced a person to their future husband. We were co-workers, and her name is Kelly. And Kelly, if you watch
Hi, Kelly.
If you're watching this, but I
don't know you, Kelly, but hi.
A guy friend of mine and I were talking, and I was talking about my boss. She was my boss at the time. What a wonderful person she was. That, she was kind of thinking about dating. She wanted to kind of put herself out there. And he goes, "Hey, I have a friend who is actually, he's from Poland and he's here on a work visa. He's this really nice, fun, great, funny guy, but maybe they'd be." I said, "Well, why don't we talk to each one of them?" We did. We did the, "Do you want to meet them? Do you want to meet them?" And they did. We went with them. My friend and I went on a double date with them, and they hit it off. And these guys have been married for over 20 some years now, and they have 2 daughters.
Aww.
And
so those little humans exist because
I like to take full credit because those 2 girls are very talented, but it probably was them. It might have been them.
It was probably them. But do you think that it's like predetermined destiny that they were going to meet and you were just the vehicle?
Maybe, because, and I would,
like, is it by chance, or do you think that was already determined?
I think that was a season. We were a season together.
But do you think you were brought into their lives to be the catalyst that brought them together?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm okay if that is what happened. And I'm very happy with that. They're lovely people. And Kelly is super nice. And if I saw her today, we would sit down and have coffee, and it would be just like it was when we worked together. We don't live near each other now, and our lives have obviously moved on. But during that time when she was my boss, she was a very good friend. She was very supportive. And that was a season for us that was very important to both of us. And it kind of made a life path for her. So you can be sometimes just a brief, important moment, and that's still important.
I love that.
It still has value. And whether it is the whole season or it's a lifetime, it doesn't matter. You can still be important in a moment. I've had relationships with men that were very short. They were very happy. They were for the reason that I needed at that time. And I don't see those people anymore. And I wish them nothing but the best.
Yeah.
It's like things like that can be something you need in that moment. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be more than that.
I love that.
It can be important briefly.
So I think the point that we're trying to drive home is that a soulmate does not have to be a romantic thing. It's just somebody that makes your heart sing.
Yes.
So whether it's just for a moment or for decades or for your whole life, find those people that make your heart sing, and those are your soulmates.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would encourage you to surround yourself with as many of those as you can find.
Do it.
In conclusion, let's do our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
I'm going to go first this time. Are you ready for it?
Okay. So sometimes I get excited and scream. Sorry.
No screaming. So this is where we just rapid fire questions. Neither of us knows what's about to happen. We have not pre-planned these. I don't know what they're about to be until they start coming out of my mouth, and then they form by the end. Shelly, if you were a crayon naming person, and you found the perfect shade to match your current fingernails, what would you name that crayon?
Red Hot Passion.
Red Hot Passion.
These
Love
are
it.
crayons for adults.
Yes, crayons for adults. Okay. If you were a seasoning, which seasoning would you be?
Oh, I'd want to be something savory because I feel like I'd be some kind of truffle. I want to be a truffle salt.
Truffle salt. Truffle salt. I love it. That's very you. Okay.
That's very me. Okay, Angie.
Yes.
If you could work for a summer as a part-time job, would you choose balloon artist?
Wow.
Or cinnamon roll maker?
Cinnamon roll maker. Obviously, I'm a baker.
I love it. I want you to do both because I can see you doing both.
I don't feel like balloon animals is in my future, but okay. Next question.
All right. If you could live in any previous decade, which do you think would most be your vibe?
Oh God. The 90s? Is that too late?
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
90s.
Totally
I want to go
90s.
back to the 90s.
You want to go to the 90s?
I don't know. I don't want to go too old because I don't want to be like stuck without.
Okay.
Like if I would go from here to there, I'd be like, oh, I really wish I had my cell phone right now. But if I didn't know it existed, let's say
we're gonna have to do a whole podcast.
1850s. If I didn't know anything else existed.
There was a lot of dysentery back then. If you
Nope, just kidding.
And no
go back to
plumbing,
1990s.
No indoor plumbing. So she's brave. You guys, thanks so much for joining us. And please, if you download this episode or if you watch it, comment. And if you have a soulmate story you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear it.
We would also love if you would give us a 5-star review wherever you are listening to this. It would mean the world to us to share this, subscribe, and give us a review.
Yes, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Ciao.
That's a wrap on this episode. If you laughed, related, or just need more, hit subscribe.
Check out the show notes to find us on socials and YouTube and join our Patreon for exclusive extras.
And remember,
we're still hot, just in flashes.